We've been toying with the idea for a while of some mechanism for people to kind of post design problems. Like the idea of forum formats or exchanging ideas is happening a lot on the internet, whether it's sites like Stack Overflow, which is kind of like the evolution of the forum, all the way back to platforms like vBulletin. So we have like this idea of creating these challenges that people could participate in and kind of collaborate. And then HP kind of came along and told us that they had a similar idea of something they wanted to do. We were talking to them about other things, and they essentially funded the building of Design by Many for us to do it, because we had already had it all cooked up and ideas of what we wanted to do, and they just knew that we kind of lacked the resources to do it, so they gave us that. And that's where it came about, and working closely with them to keep the community going. We ultimately wanted to be totally community-driven challenges, but for now we're doing these monthly sponsored challenges to get activity on the site, and it's worked really well so far. So I'm hoping that it enables kind of smaller practices to do more by having this really big resource. So I'm basically hoping it becomes a really big repository of architectural ideas.
The challenges so far have been pretty different from your typical design competition in that they're pretty well defined and constrained problems. They're meant to be a little bit quicker. You're not kind of doing really grand ideas or really large buildings or anything like that. We're trying to kind of look at like components and systems. And the house, the last challenge was the largest one that we've done so far. But we put a lot of kind of constraints on it, I think, in order to have it work so that people are actually able to create something that could be replicatable or useful to other people. So it's not just kind of a kind of singular kind of one-off design concept, but it's something that actually people can take and build.
There's a lot of really great examples outside of architecture for open source. Like architecture by culture is one-offs, so it's kind of difficult to open source one-offs. Open source software is something that's repeated, there's derivatives of it. That's what we're trying to get down to, the kind of component level, of things that are repeatable, and those can then be modified and changed. There's lots of great examples, like the Drupal community, the WordPress, Linux, if you go back to kind of like main kind of poster children for open source. So then in architecture, I don't know if we're really calling Design by Many open source. We're using a Creative Commons license so that the person that posts the design still fully owns it, but they're accepting that there can be derivatives of it as long as they give attribution. So we think it's important that the person that created it still get full attribution, but they understand that when they're posting, they're not going to be compensated for the design. They're kind of giving to the community.